I'm Keith Kamer, and this is my open source contribution video. So I decided to select this algorithms and data structures repository. What it is it's a database of common algorithms, data structures, sorting algorithms, and common computer science questions in a variety of languages. I see there's C, C++, Java, Python, Go, Ruby, JavaScript, Swift, Rust, Scala, and Kotlin. And it seems like this repository was set up kind of as a first contribution type repository where there are some pretty basic different contributions you can make. That would be easy for a first time. So I forked this repository, and then I created my own branch, named it Open Source Contribution. And you can see in the original repository, you go to the source folder and then you go to CPP for C++, you will not see binary tree, since that one was one of the ones that had not been completed yet. If you go to my fork, you'll see that binary tree has been. So what I did was I created the code for the binary tree. I created the class for binary tree. I created a struct called tree node within that. Then I made a private function for insert. I made a private function for print and order. I made a private function for print pre-order, and a private function for print post-order. I then made public versions of those functions. Also here I have a private constructor. Or actually I have a public constructor, sorry. I created a public insert function, a public print in order function, a public print pre-order function, and a public print post-order function. Within my main, I created an instance of a class, binary tree. And then I went ahead and I inserted a few random numbers. Tried to keep them out of order number-wise, see what would happen. And then I printed in order, pre-order, and post-order. And then I went ahead and I checked those to make sure that they all ran properly. If I take this just to see it running, and I put it into a online compiler, you'll see the in order, pre-order, and post-order printouts. I went ahead and I verified that all these are correct, and they absolutely are. What I did was I actually used Visual Studio. I imported, after I forked over the repository, I cloned the repository to Visual Studio. Then I went ahead and I created a branch, it's the open source contribution branch here, and then wrote the code. And then I went to Git changes and I committed the changes I needed to into my own branch. Next thing I'll do is I'll create a push request to see if I can if it gets approved by the repository owner. Everything seemed to work out pretty well. Using Visual Studio as opposed to using CLion or Visual Code, which is what I've used previously for GitHub projects, required a little bit of finagling. I do prefer the layout of Visual Studio though. So now that I know how to handle that within Visual Studio, that's probably going to be what I do in the future. Everything worked out kind of expected from any of the documentation I read. Luckily, it was a pretty easy repository to deal with, so there weren't any difficulties cloning anything. Unfortunately, if you look through all these files, they all have their own main in order to test. So I copied that type of code structure because there's nothing explicitly listed. And I just ran in that online compiler to make sure that everything worked. In the future, just check to see if there's multiple mains, and if so, then run it outside of the IDE.